the will to win can take you to some pretty strange places, from county fairgrounds to awesome indoor stadiums, tracks made from some of the best salvage yard scrap iron to 16 inches of mud. It's a journey best made with a heavy right foot. Sometimes you end up in victory lane, sometimes you end up on your hat. But after the dust is settled and the driver walks away, that wild ride that lasted mere seconds will be relived over and over again, etched in the racer's head like some bad song that won't go away. And that's what the fourth installment of Diamond P's most popular monster truck and mud racing series is all about. It's a collection of those great hits we call Shake, Battle, and Roll. The Predator of Alan Pizzo showed up at Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. As you well know, that's the mecca of monster trucks for 1 week in a year. Trying to get his truck in this 12-truck field, literally putting it on kill. And the end result, rear suspension collapses on the second impact. Now, Pizzo under the gun now, as he knows he will have an opportunity to qualify later in the day, but as you can see, a lot of damage was sustained to this vehicle in the right rear suspension. The big story at Bloomsburg were the angle of the ramps. The drivers didn't like them. They said they're going to cause a lot of problem before the day's over. And Pizzo was proof of the pudding right there. He knew he had a long drive ahead of him to get this thing back into the action. He takes it back to the pit area, but sure enough, after literally hammering and nailing, he made it to the line the very next day against Paul Schaefer. And as you can see, he had a good run going for him. He moved on Schaefer first. He was out on him. But once again, the right paw, in this case the right rear suspension, cost him. Pizzo very dejectedly comes out of the truck. The replay comes up on the screen, and as you can see, the Predator literally had Schaefer covered. Horsepower was not a problem, but on this day in Bloomsburg, Lady Luck was looking the other way from the Predator. Alan, I know you and keep working. I know you and the crew are just upset as can be over this, but the same thing happened yesterday in qualifying. Can you tell me what's causing it to do this?
I'm not sure, Army, right now. I think I may have one shock that's lost its valving or something in the shock, and it's not releasing when it's going in the air, and the truck is bottoming out when it's landing, and putting a tremendous load on the spindle and breaking it off.
Well, then we move to the granddaddy of them all, the Fall Jamboree in Indianapolis, Indiana, and literally everybody wanted to make this show. Qualifying is so important. We've already seen the carnage that can take place when a truck lands hard on the rear. Well, Donnie Van Loo with his Dodge team showing you it's just as tough to get qualified with a front knuckle missing. And the tire just rolled away. Now, you got to remember, those tires weigh 800 pounds apiece, and that much reciprocating weight, you well know, is going to take a long time to stop. Van Loo gets out, waves to the crowd. They're into this. This is what monster truck racing is all about. The big question, who's going to go get the tire? We see the front end loader heading that way. Van Loo's going to try to get back in the session. The slippery track caused a whole lot of the problem today, it looks like. Van Loo getting a lot of wheel speed over the first jump. Then he settles down. Now remember, we talk about balance in this sport. This truck was nose heavy. That's what caused it to break. Donnie, what happened? It looked like something just completely cleanly broke off the front left spindle.
Yeah, the front knuckle come loose on it. I don't know why, but I guess them things happen sometimes. At least the truck's still in one piece. I'm not hurt, so everything's fine dandy. You know, we can always come back.
Qualifying. Man, that is getting to be a tough thing to do for these Jamboree shows.
Very, very hard thing to do. I mean, everybody's getting their act together and makes a heck of a difference.
Thanks a lot. We're glad you're okay.
All right, thank you.
Well, Van Leeuwen and his crew were able to get it back together. They carry the spare knuckles with them. A knuckle is the left front suspension. You can see they're completely gone. But these guys know that monster trucks have to have knuckles. So, hey, you got 5 on each hand. They carry some spares with them. The Fall Jamboree, Indianapolis once again. Not having problems with the tires this time. Sampson of Dan Patrick comes out. Keep an eye on the front end. You talk about flexing your muscle. He actually breaks the front suspension of the truck, tears the front end off of it, but he is okay. So as the crew literally strong arms the front end of the truck, the next day I had a chance to catch up with Dan. You're looking at pieces of Dan Patrick's broken truck. Dan, what happened in that qualifying session?
Well, when the truck landed on the second jump, I think basically what happened was we sheared the flange off, and which let the wheel come back, locked it up, which tore all the other parts up. But what happened here, we think it's from a long, hard summer. At Lima, we maybe hit the cars real hard in no man's land and kind of jammed the front end up there. Then also in Bloomsburg, when we made those hard landings on that second jump there, we noticed that, well, we bent the housing there, but we couldn't tell if there was any fractures from the outside.
How can you tell now?
Well, by looking at discolorations in the material where the brakes are, this is what actually was holding it yesterday. The rest of the stuff had broken, but you couldn't see it visually. So it's just a long time coming this summer after hitting all those hits and just taking it here. This wasn't a hard landing. It really shouldn't have happened.
Well, you know, sometimes it's not a case of losing things, but finding yourself running into things like fences. Sam Botter in the boogie van at the Ozark Empire Fairgrounds found out what the stern fence was like on the left side of her vehicle. Tag. Now, a couple of days later, in the very same lane, Ray Prokowski comes out and tags the same wall that Pam did. But if you look between the rear tires, you'll see why. He broke a rear suspension lever on the 4-link bar back there, and that's what caused it to hook to the left. Now, you must remember the monster truck courses are temporary courses built around fairgrounds, so you never know where the fences are going to be, or in that case, the power poles or any type of obstruction. So all the drivers have to stay on their toes, almost like obstacle drivers. Now, speaking of obstacle drivers, let's go back to Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. Watch Gary Porter in the far lane. We've seen guys going through fences. We talked about obstacles. Keep an eye on this. I'd like to introduce you to the JoJo barrier, a safety barrier designed right here in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. And believe me, Gary Porter road tested that rascal for you. Gary, do you have any idea what caused it to go like that?
Well, Army, you know, I knew I had to launch the truck really hard off the light, you know, to take Bigfoot out. And, you know, that's what I was doing. I was trying to go for it all. It hooked up really hard on the line. When I landed over the first set of cars, it felt sort of like a rear axle shaft broke or something. That's what made the truck turn. And, you know, when I felt it turn as bad as it did, I knew there was no use trying to get it back. You know, I just slammed on the brakes. I seen the pole coming up, you know, and I tried to turn away from it. And it hit pretty hard. It surprised me how hard those water barriers are.
Well, Gary definitely road tested those 1,200-pound water barriers. If they were put in front of that pole to protect it, that's exactly what they did. Who cleans up a mess like this? Well, when it's all over, the crew. That's who. Ohio always provides us with a ton of excitement. The reason is the left lane and the right lane have two completely different personalities. Mark Hall, the executioner, is going to come up and show you just a taste of what was to be coming up a little bit later in the action. The left lane, they've got poles and JoJo barriers. The right lane, you've got to negotiate a 4-foot drop-off. So the drivers have a tendency to overcompensate. They have a tendency to oversteer the vehicles. The optimum word here is over. This qualifying session before the night was over provided two of the most action-packed runs we have seen in our involvement in the sport. The Hall brothers were the lucky ones. Ken Deppy with the Hemi-powered Rampage rolled to the starting line right after Hall in the same lane. Remember, we keep talking about balance in a monster truck. I want you to notice the nose attitude of this vehicle. In the second set of cars, the second car's missing. That's exactly where the front end landed. Deppy on the throttle. He knows full well if you can keep one part of that truck on the ground, you can keep it upright, and he does. The crowd goes wild, and he kept it upright. Or as upright as could be. This was potentially a very dangerous situation. You can see the wheels-up attitude of the awesome Dodge. He noses over. Now, at this time, the driver knows he's in trouble. The safety crew knows he's in trouble. There's an electronic kill switch aboard these monster trucks. The question is, when will they activate it? Or has it already been activated? The driver is still on the throttle. You can see the tires turning. Rule of thumb, if you keep one on the ground, you can pull it around. That's exactly what Deppy did. Crew members lifting the 800-pound tire. I had a chance to talk to Deppy right after the run.
The question right now is the kill switch. Army, you know, the radio was on. I got crooked off of there, you know, going up on its nose, and I was just trying to bring the truck around, and actually I had my foot to the floor. When I finally got stopped over here, I was going to turn my front wheels, try to get them straight, because I could tell I had them turned. And then it died, and I looked up, and the motor, you know, the radio was flashing. So I figured they'd waited to kill me till I got down here, and they said that they'd been trying sooner. I don't know, Army.
Well, the reverse angle shows you it provided a lot of action, kind of like a three-ring circus. The big question is, if the light was blinking, the safety kill system should have been activated. And you can see the tires were still spinning at this point. It literally ripped the side of the truck out. That wasn't all, though. Before the night was over, Mr. Brian Welch, privateer in the moving violation Chevrolet, rolled out. This young kid's trying to make a name for himself on the circuit. Got him a new sponsor, but he is in the right lane at Canfield. We told you each lane had a personality. This lane has a nasty personality. Well, immediately the track crew approaches the vehicle. You can see Brian Welch sitting inside. Operations Director George Carpenter goes over, and folks, he doesn't use the jaws of life. He uses the cowboy boot of life. Bottom line, he got the top of the truck off, and we're going to get Brian out. You can see the young man climbing around. The safety and roll cage, everything held up on the truck like it was supposed to, because this truck is built to the MTRA specs. He acknowledges the crowd. We had a chance to talk to him.
First of all, are you okay? I'll be real honest, the bell's been rolling pretty good, son.
Well, I'll tell you what, yeah, a little bit, but tell you what, that's what a roll cage is supposed to do. We went up around, I seen the ground a couple times. Everything was good. The truck seemed to hold together good. I don't know what happened back there. We come up the second ramp, back in, tried to pass the front end up for some reason. We got the new KB motor in here from Van Sims. I'll tell you what, it's putting the power out.
He's going to be okay, but just like you said, you brought out an important point. The roll cage did work. All the safety devices did what they were supposed to do.
Now, I've spent a lot of time on the far end of racetracks and seen a lot of accidents, but believe me, these two coming back-to-back proved one thing to me. The bigger they are, the harder they fall.